Welcome back everyone, I'm K Plays Games, this is EVE Online, and today we're taking a look at Tech 2 industry. It's actually fairly simple, at least on the surface, and it basically follows the same steps as Tech 1 industry did. So let's get into it. Step 1 is choose what to build. I don't need to take you through this stage all over again, you should already know how to do basic market research by now. Step 2 is get your blueprints. This is the major difference between Tech 2 and Tech 1. In the olden days of EVE Online, original blueprints for Tech 2 items were given out as part of a lottery system. This lottery system was removed many years ago, and I mean way before even I started playing EVE back in 2008, and since then Tech 2 originals are no longer spawned. The only way to get these Tech 2 originals is to find them on sale in the contract system, or somehow find a private seller who's willing to part with one of his precious blueprints. These Tech 2 original blueprints cost many billions of ISK, even if you can find them, and it will take you many years to recoup that investment. Think of Tech 2 originals more like priceless works of art by old masters which are traded between the ultra rich. They're far more in the way of status symbols than they are actually productive items these days. Okay, so how do we get Tech 2 blueprints to do Tech 2 industry? What we do is that we turn Tech 1 blueprint copies into Tech 2 blueprint copies through an industry science job known as Invention. To work out which Tech 1 blueprint you need, look at the info page of the Tech 2 item you want to build. In this case, we'll be building Tech 2 Void M ammunition. You open the info page, you click the variations tab, then you have a look at the Tech 1 version, and this is the blueprint you need to buy. So if we want to make Void M, we need to buy an antimatter charge M blueprint. But that's fine because that's what we bought way back at the start of the Tech 1 industry series, so we already have one. Now one good thing here is that you don't need to spend time and money researching this blueprint with material and time efficiency if you're only going to be using it for invention. I'll explain why that is a little bit later on in this video. All we have to do is make copies of it. The number of runs on your copies doesn't matter too much. Each run of an invention job will remove one run from the Tech 1 copy until it eventually despawns when it hits 0 runs. So you can just make a few copies with lots of runs if you plan to use them over and over again, or you can make lots of copies with only a single run on them. It really makes no difference. Once you have some Tech 1 blueprint copies, have a look at their info page. So we have a link here. As we see here, antimatter charge M blueprint copy, 1 run remaining. This is one I've already made. If we have a look at this icon, which is the microscope icon, we mouse over it, it says this is Invention. And as we see here, we need all these skills in order to do Invention, but because of the way that CCP, the developers of EVE Online, have laid this out, it actually doubles them up. What we really need is Plasma Physics 1, Quantum Physics 1 and Galenti Encryption Methods 1. Now Plasma Physics and Quantum Physics both have Science 5 and Power Grid Management 5 as prerequisites, which is why Science 5 is listed twice and so is Power Grid Management. Galenti Encryption Methods 1 needs Hacking 2, Electronic Upgrades 3, CPU Management 2, Power Grid Management 2 and Science 3. Well, if you're going to be doing Science 5 for these, you're going to be doing Science 3 anyway. So it's really 3 main skills you need. As well as the skills, we need these things down here at the bottom, which are called Datacores. These Datacores are consumed by the invention job, so you will need this many Datacores per invention run you want to do. And if you notice, the 2 Datacores match up with the 2 science jobs in the skill list, in this case Quantum Physics and Plasma Physics. These Datacores can be found randomly in exploration data sites, or you can buy them from faction warfare loyalty point stores, or you can generate them yourself by using research and development agents. Research and development agents are very special agents that work differently to any other agent in the game. What these agents do is passively generate a certain number of research points per day, which you then spend along with some ISK to buy Datacores from that agent. These agents also require science skills to be able to be usable. The science skills match the Datacores you want to make, so in our case we will need to find research and development agents that offer quantum physics and plasma physics Datacores. Higher level agents produce more research points per day, so it's usually best to go with the highest level you can, even if this means travelling around a bit. R&D agents are pretty spread out across the galaxy. Now you start off only being able to run a single R&D agent at any one time, but this skill, Research Project Management, adds an extra one R&D job per level. So you start off with 1, you train 5 levels of this, so you end up with the ability to use 6 of these agents running at the same time. Now, locating these agents is a bit of a pain because the developers have made a boo-boo. In Agent Finder in Agency, we go to Agents and Missions, Agent Finder. What we can do, we can select R&D agents, but there is no selector for the science skills. So what you would have to do is to show info on each and every agent and look at this list of skills here and hope that they match up. There's quantum physics, that's one of the ones we needed on this agent. How about this guy? Blah blah blah, quantum physics, yes, so he would be good. Show info. So I don't want to have to spend all my time going through every single agent on this list, working out if they have the right data cores, and if they do, how close they are to me and which 6 we're going to pick to run, because life is too short for that. But this being EVE Online, there are plenty of third-party websites that will do this job for us. One of these websites is .lan. .lan doesn't just do maps, it also has an agent search. And what we have here is the skill drop down that we so badly need to have in game. So we'll select graviton physics, we'll click search, and then we get the list of every single agent in the game, which will give us the data cores we need. There's only 42 of them, as we see. Quite a lot of them are in LoSec, and they're in lots of different regions. They're spread out over quite some distance. What we see here in the middle is which corporation they belong to. There's quite a few which are KC, this one's ISH, this one's LDC, LDC, ISH, KC. So as we see, there are 3 or 4 corporations per faction which have all their R&D agents, so this is another way we can locate them. You can use the universal search up here in the top left to search for these corporations. This is one of them here, which I've already done the search on. And you click the Agents tab, and here we see this is all their R&D agents at level 1, level 2, level 3 and level 4. As I said, there's not too many, and there's 3 or 4 corporations belonging to Caldari State which have R&D agents. If we have the standings to talk to that agent, they will have this white start conversation speech bubble. If we do not have the standings, this will turn red. So for this particular corp and this particular faction, we can't use level 3 or 4, and using level 1 and level 2 R&D agents is pretty much a waste of time. I'd even say that on level 3, so you really want to do level 4 to get any kind of decent results at all. The number of points generated per day by your R&D agent depends on quite a few things. The level you have the relevant science skill at, your standings with the agent, faction standings, corporation standings and personal standings all count towards this. Your skill level of the negotiation skill. Now, negotiation adds a 5% bonus to the pay per level, and essentially the research points are the pay, so this skill does affect that. And there's also the connection skill, which gives you instant standings, so that can be really good for getting your standings up. And as I said previously, the level of the agent determines how many research points they give you per day. So it can be good to grind the standings with the corp and faction they belong to in order to get more research points. Raising the personal standings with the agent is somewhat harder. They do not give out regular missions, so you can't just grind personal standings with them quite easily. Once per day, they will send you an email saying there is a problem with the research project, but don't worry, that's a lie. There's nothing wrong with the project, and your research points will keep accruing as normal. What this email actually is that they're offering a tiny little courier mission, with the reward for completing that mission being a doubling of that day's research point generation. Doing these daily missions will also very slowly improve your personal standings with the agent and therefore lead to more research points. Each time you train a level of the science skill, negotiation or connections, or boost your standings, the daily research point generation will not update until you stop the current R&D project and start a new one. Now the thing to pay attention to here is that any points you've racked up already will be lost when you do this, so buy as many data cores as you can before you update it. Even with level 4 agents, very high skills and very high standings, you will only be getting around 119 points per day per agent. You can keep track of this in the journal under Agents Research. You see I have 6 agents all doing electronic engineering, all level 4. I have really high standings with the factions and corporations, so I'm getting 119 point something per day. Data cores cost 50 points each. So over 30 days, each agent will only provide you something like 70 data cores. This is not a hugely fast process, but at least it's passive. If you can be bothered to run around to each and every one of your far-flung R&D agents and run these daily missions, you'll double your output, but you will lose so much time doing that, it's basically not worth it. Of course, instead of running data sites for random data cores, risking death in faction warfare, or using these R&D agents, you can just buy data cores from the market and let other people worry about the details of generating them. Now we have our skills trained up, we have our Tech 1 blueprint copies in hand, and we have our data cores. It's time to actually do some invention jobs. First of all, we need to find a structure that offers invention as a science job. Once again, the structure browser is completely useless here, so we'll open it anyway. Service filter. What the developers have done, they have lumped manufacturing, material efficiency, time efficiency, copying, invention and reactions all under the industry header, so it's completely useless. You have no idea which one of these 5 processes any of these stations will do, so structure browser is completely useless for that, so let's get rid of it. But luckily, once again, the industry UI is our saviour here. You click the facilities tab, and the activity we want this time is invention. Here we are. This is the list of every station in range which offers invention along with their tax rates. As before, NPC stations will all give you a 10% tax rate, and player stations, which are the ones towards the top here, will give you varying numbers of tax rates, and quite often they will give you time bonuses as well. Here we are, job duration modifiers. So the structure roll bonus is 15. This one has a rig for invention, so that's pretty good. So again, you just find whichever one you want to use, a combination of distance from you, the speed and the tax rate, and the little red bar, which is the system cost index. So I'm already at the station we've chosen to use, so we'll just dock. So once you're in the station of your choice, with your blueprints and data cores in the item hanger, you can open the industry UI, click the blueprints tab, locate where your blueprints are, and here we go, here they are here. We'll just select one to populate it. Now let's go through what we see in the invention window. In the top left, here are our consumable data cores. In the middle is our input blueprint. How many runs we want to do. Well, this blueprint only has 1 remaining, so we'll be doing 1 run. And here is the outcome. Now this can be changed on certain items. Items such as Scourge cruise missiles and other cruise missiles actually have 2 different Tech 2 variants, as do some ships. Like this Rifter. Rifter again has two different Tech 2 variants. So here, if you clicked on this, you would get a drop down. Do make sure you pick the correct one. You don't want to accidentally invent the wrong thing. So the outcome of inventing this with these data cores will be this: a Void M blueprint with 10 runs, 2% material efficiency and 4% time efficiency on it. Now this is the basic outcome for all Tech 2 Invention runs. Every ammunition, every drone, every module and every rig will give you a 10 run blueprint with ME2 TE4. Ships will also be ME2 TE4, but they will have 1 run on them. Right at the top we see the chance of success because Invention is chance based. You see the base probability of this invention being successful is 34%. My skills and implants are adding another 30.8% on that. So it's not 64.8, it's 30% on top of 34%, so it's 44.5%. I have level 5 plasma physics, only level 2 quantum physics, and level 3 Calenti encryption methods. We'll say the higher you train these skills, the better this will be. Then what I haven't talked about is this empty box here. What this is for exotic items known as Decryptors. Decryptors modify your outcome by various different things. There's lots and lots of different ones to choose from, but luckily we can simulate them in this window, which is quite cool. You just click on it and then you left click to select the one you want. They pay attention to the outcome. So this accelerant decryptor would increase our chance of success, give us more ME, more TE and more runs. So that's pretty snazzy. This one adds more runs and much more success. This one has much less success, but lots more runs, crapper ME, but better TE. So again, you can just cycle through all these, work out which ones you want, look up how much they cost in the market, which is 3 million each for that one. And remember that this will be consumed in the run whether or not it succeeds. So you're going to have to work out whether the price you pay for them is worth it. This one here is 4.3 million ISK and it will be consumed whether or not the job works. So you're going to have to hope that the outcome modifiers to this are worth more than 4.3 million ISK, otherwise you've just wasted your money. But because we're cheap, we'll use no optional item here. The one thing to notice here is that the ME and TE of the input blueprint has no effect at all on the outcome. This blueprint has 0, 0 and will give us the basic outcome of 2 and 4, but I have researched a different blueprint and we'll input this. So this is a fully researched 10 ME and 20 TE, and as we see the output is still the same, 2 and 4 and 10 runs. So that's why I said at the start, if you're only going to be doing Invention, you don't need to spend time and money researching stuff, because it has no difference at all. Invention can take quite some time. As we see here in the job duration, one run of this crappy little antimatter charge M invention will take over 9 hours. And this is with our skills, implants and structure rolls adding up to a 30% reduction. Even with that reduction, it's still well over 9 hours. It's very cheap, it only costs 31 ISK, but the time is the thing that will trip you up. But luckily, me being Mr. Prepared, I've already run a whole load of Invention jobs yesterday and they're ready for us to deliver now. So let's see how many we get. Failed, 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 succeeded, failed, 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 succeeded. So from our 10 Invention attempts, we only got 2 that worked, and that was on a 44.5% success. So we got really unlucky with the dice rolls here. Normally we would have had 4, because that's the way the percentages work, but we did get 2 of these blueprints. Now it's on to the gathering materials part of the process. This stuff here, this RAM or robotic assembly modules, are fairly easy to make yourself. It's a basic Tech 1 item needing only minerals, and we have it linked down here. So you just buy the blueprint for it. As we see, it is needed to build every single Tech 2 ammo in the game. And it needs tritanium, pyrite, mixolon, isogen, noxium, just basic stuff. It's pretty easy to build, so you can supply that yourself. Morphite is a mineral that comes from mercoxite ore, and as we see here, it is used in all these literally thousands of blueprints, because morphite is used in almost all Tech 2 production and some faction implants as well. It's very rare, it's very valuable. These things here are reaction materials. This is where Tech 2 production gets really, really deep. These come from moon ores, which have been used in a station in low-sec and converted into these other components, which are then combined and then combined again to produce more and more different things until eventually we get the things that we need. The things that we need are crystalline carbide and fluorides. Crystalline carbide, if you click the industry tab, is made by this reaction formula, which needs crystalline alloy and carbon polymers and fuel blocks. So if we look at the crystalline alloy input, this also needs its own reaction formula, and this needs again 2 other inputs. So I'll have a look at the top one, cobalt. Okay, this seems to be directly sourced from moon mining, and the ore this comes from, or one of the ores it comes from, is cobaltite. So you find a moon, you put up a station with a moon drill in it, you shoot the moon with a laser, you drag it into space, you detonate it into an ore belt, you mine the cobaltite with a normal mining ship, you refine that into cobalt, and then you run the cobalt through a reactor into crystalline alloy, and then you combine the crystalline alloy with carbon polymers, which will have their own supply chain, and this will give us crystalline carbonide, which we can then use to build ammunition. Reactions will also consume these fuel blocks at every stage, and fuel blocks need all this stuff, which is made from planetary interaction, and these will all have their own supply chains. You see, robotics needs 10 consumer electronics and 10 mechanical parts, and consumer electronics need toxic metals and chiral structures, and these in turn come from different raw resources. So you need all 5 of these, plus this stuff, which is stuff that comes from mining ice. As we see, this is where Tech 2 gets really, really complicated. Well, it's not complicated, it's just a lot of extra steps. So to be fully self-sufficient, we would need the aforementioned moon, a moon mining station, a moon drill to mine the moon, a reactor to make the reactions, a planetary production setup to make the stuff to make the fuel blocks, as well as ice belts to mine the ice to make the fuel blocks, and probably a whole bunch of people all working together doing these different things and bringing them all together. We will just be buying these things from the market. So when we make our Void M, the maximum runs that this blueprint will give us is 10, and each one gives us 5,000, so we will get 50,000 Void M. And once you've gathered these materials, you just install the manufacturing job in exactly the same way we did for Tech 1. And at the end of that, we will have 50,000 Tech 2 Void M to sell, which should hopefully be bringing in far more profits than our Tech 1 Antimatter M was. If it's not, then we've just wasted this entire video for nothing. And on that devastating note, I think we'll wrap up this video. So to recap the Tech 2 manufacturing process, work out what you want to build, get a blueprint for the Tech 1 variant of that item, make copies of that blueprint, train the skills you need for Invention, get the data cores you need, either by buying them from the market or running R&D agents, run the Invention jobs, adding any decryptors you want. Decryptors also come from data hacking exploration sites. And then gather the materials, self-build as much as you can, for example the RAM ammunition tech, run it through the manufacturing process, and then sell it. The only really difficult parts of this is if you're trying to make your own reactions materials. Everything else is fairly straightforward. I hope this wasn't too long-winded or too confusing for you. As with everything in EVE Online, the more often you do it, the easier it gets. Until we meet again, do take very good care of yourselves. I'll talk to you again soon.